Hey guys, it's Hannah.
Hi, it's Shiloh.
It's Camila.
And Aubrey.
And this is Mics.and.Mischief, where we will dive into questions and topics that are important to Gen Z. Each week, we will bring you fresh insights, intriguing concepts, and thought-provoking conversations. So grab your headphones, get comfy, and let's get into it.
For our first segment today, we will be discussing relevant trends in today's society, which ones are the most impactful, and how they affect everyday individuals the most. Aubrey, what's the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about trends that affect society? Because we all know you're on social media.
Okay. What first comes to mind when I think of trends is obviously social media trends like on TikTok. Like I know cheetah print is really trending right now and everybody wants that.
I literally bought a cheetah print set.
I think like trends that more impacts people is like movements that people start. Like during COVID, like people had the BLM movement. Or,
That's
like,
the Black Lives Matter for those.
Yeah. I feel like everybody kind of knows.
What, Camila?
That's what a trend is.
Okay, and we also have like the feminist movement that's been going on for freaking ages. Yeah. Because, okay, those movements absolutely shape society, but another thing that definitely shapes society, I feel like a lot of these movements and trends would not be possible without social media, and to my knowledge, like, there are very few trends that aren't relevant on social media somewhere, you know?
Yeah, I feel like because social media is such, I mean, who doesn't have at least some type of social media in their pocket?
Sure.
So I feel like when people want something to pick up speed, you know, or be popular, which is basically what a trend is, something that has become popular in a short amount of time, and many have begun to do it, it's going to be on social media because that's where everybody will be able to see it. And I think that's why a lot of people who also make movements make sure to post it on platforms so that others can be aware of what they're doing, what it's for, and just to get traction and attention that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think like the BLM movement or the feminist movement is a trend, because although it was popular at a short amount of time, I feel like it's like
gaining momentum?
Yeah, it's gaining momentum, and it's gonna go on for a long time because there's always gonna be discrimination. There's always gonna be like unfair treatments towards POC people or black people, as well as mistreatment or sexism towards women or men. So I don't think it really is a trend, but more of something that keeps going on and on.
That's true.
Like, that's the world's problems.
That's true, because trends are known for having an extremely short amount of life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Like most things now, instead of it being like a trend, it's more of a fad, and people get over it within like 2 weeks and move on to the next thing.
So fad.
Aubrey, what would you say?
No, I don't know what
A fad is like something like people like really like for like a really short amount of time.
So, Aubrey, what do you think is the difference between a fad, you know, and then a trend? Like, what do you think truly separates them?
Well, I think the things that separates them is like the amount of people that's taking part in it.
Okay.
I feel like a trend would have more than like a fad. And fads like tend to move on way quicker, and that's why they're like actually defined different, because fads move on quicker than trends, and trends stick for a second, a little bit, you know. So
and other trends build off trends.
Yeah, I agree.
I think a fad, like one of the trends or like something that went up and then went down as quickly. It's gonna be a brain rot moment, but Nick Avocado.
No, literally,
He
what?
fell off after a week.
He did.
That show about the Menendez brothers.
Yes.
People loved that for like 2 weeks, and then after the 2 weeks,
Honestly.
everybody kind of got over it.
Here's another one, Euphoria.
Euphoria? I still watch Euphoria.
I'm not saying it fell off, but like it definitely had a peak, and then
Not a lot of people talk about it.
and now it's finding its decline.
Yes.
And right now, one thing that's currently in its peak is the Wicked musical.
That is true.
The amount of collaborations that they're doing, you know, to promote.
True.
It's like you see them everywhere now. No store will you not see green and pink together.
Right.
No, that's true.
Another thing that I think tends to trend on social media is like politics. Like a lot of people won't know what's actually going on in the government, and just because what they see on social media they'll think is like true, and that's for like both sides, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Like from like Twitter and TikTok, I think is like the main things
Yeah.
that a lot of people get their like information from, and I think most of the time it's just not true, and it's people taking sides a lot.
Oh, I agree.
So
I feel like low-key, social media is Gen Z's like #1 way of finding out what's happening in politics, even if there's like short clips cut out that make no sense or have no relevance to actually what's going on, because I don't like Gen Z just doesn't care enough to oftentimes like
honestly
look into it for
and I feel like people rely on social media heavily nowadays. Like personally, there are moments where I rely on TikTok as Google. Like the other day,
I do
like
too.
Instead of searching how to make cake pops on Google, I went on TikTok and was like, how to make cake pops. So
I feel like boomers had their newspapers, millennials had their magazines, and Gen Z has our social media.
No,
that's where we're getting our information.
Yes.
Next, on to our second segment. Has social media killed genuine romantic connections? And if so, how has it done this? I have a feeling this is going to get lit real quick, so who wants to share their opinion first?
Yes.
I do.
No hesitation whatsoever.
Okay,
I do agree that social media does ruin things. This generation, we have things such as situationships, talking stages, like one time, like sneaky links. If y'all if y'all know what that is.
Forbidden word.
I had to, spill it out. But most definitely, like, romance is dead these days. Speaking from personal experience and from the people that I'm friends with who experience, like, problems with their people and stuff. So I most definitely think social media has played a major role in affecting like romance society.
Okay, so I actually disagree with a little bit of that. I think, social media has definitely killed some aspects of romantic connection. I don't think it's killed all of it, and I don't think romance is dead. I think it's really about the audience that you're in and the crowd that you're in. And I think if you're in the right crowd, there's absolutely like opportunities for romantic connection. But if you're in the wrong crowd with the wrong people, they're like absolutely, it can just be a game.
I agree,
That's true. But I also feel like social media hasn't killed it off. I don't think it's the cause. I think it's how people were raised. You know? And I don't think it's mostly social media is where these people go, to like give out their advice or so of course that way they are like enlarging the flame that is dead romance. But I feel like social media is also a good place to get ideas on how to be more romantic, or like what others have done, and you're like, you see a post of a cute couple and you're like, I kind of, I want that, or like that's cute, with who could I do this with? So I feel like it's people.
I agree.
We're the problem.
And speaking of people, whenever people are insecure and they have multiple options, instead of like rejecting one of the options and saying like, no, I like this person better, they're more likely to just keep both because they're insecure and scared of rejection.
Yeah, I agree.
Camila, I see that little face.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I just feel like insecurity does play a big part, especially because while Gen Z was in COVID, and so I feel like that put a lot on everybody's mental health, and like I know a lot of people who, even though the mask mandate was lifted, people still wanted to wear their mask because of how insecure they were, and there was honestly there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just I feel like that's how our generation has grown to be, is a little insecure in itself or in its capabilities. And I feel like COVID has played a big part in that, and trends also affect the way that we see things or value.
Trends do affect romance, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like as we're talking about insecurity in a whole generation, I think it's even worse in teenagers because teenagers don't know who they are yet, or if they do, they have a very small sense of it. Very few teenagers actually like have a good sense of who they are, and so that insecurity is just multiplied in teenagers. And I think that's why we see so many failed like romantic connections in teenagers because like ultimately of their insecurity of like rejection or things going wrong.
I agree. So adding on to the next segment, let's bring up the question, do beauty standards play a role in romance? So what do you guys think?
Okay, this is an interesting topic because I do think beauty standards affect relationships, though I'm not quite sure to what extent. The statement, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, is really true in this subject because beauty standards can be common knowledge, but even if someone doesn't fit that mold, they can still and likely are still attractive to many people. So to me, beauty standards do have really negative effects on relationships whenever people aren't confident about their choices. And again, this concept of insecurity bleeding into the way people approach relationships. If someone's insecure, they're likely to be even more insecure if someone they like or is dating doesn't fit into those beauty standards. And so they'll likely feel a lot of pressure to maybe even leave that person due to their insecurity.
Yeah, no, I agree. For example, if you're in a relationship and you meet their parents, sometimes, like, the parents can make you feel insecure and be like, oh, the last one was way prettier than this one, or something like that. I think it depends as well, because, like, in some countries, beauty standards do play a role a lot, especially, okay, so I'm from the Philippines, and beauty standards play a role in that, in my country. So, like, for example, the more pale you are, the more prettier you are, and the more darker you are, the more, like, I don't want to say uglier, but, like, less appealing.
Less attractive.
Yeah, less attractive.
I actually, wild thing, when my mom, who's Cuban, so, you know,
Sure.
They come in lots of different skin tones. We can, you know, we can either be very, very dark, or we can be really, really, really light. And so when I was born, my aunt came up to my mother and said, congratulations, and you know what? In Spanish and to English, it translates a little differently, but she basically said, you have a clean womb because your daughter came out lighter. So, you know, darker complexions are correlated with, you know, uncleanliness or something, you know.
Yes, for
even, although that's completely not true, that's just the standard that, you know,
That
they have,
exists, yeah.
that exists there.
Kind of relating to you, Camila, when my mom gave birth to me, I love my grandma to death, but as soon as I came out of the womb, she was like, ooh, this is a dark one. But no, most definitely beauty standards do play a role, and especially if you're in like a POC family, being dark is being less attractive or having like uncleanliness or something like that. So.
And I think, though, that the trend today has definitely shifted a bit more, though. Because we saw that back then, obviously, being lighter of complexion was the goal. But honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, which is what this podcast is for, people of color are more accepted, and they've become the standard of beauty. Especially if you look at comment sections too, you see a lot of people who are like, man, I wish, you know, from white people, man, I wish I was more, you know, darker. I wish I had curlier hair.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like the beauty standards right now have switched. I mean, in America at least, because in the Philippines, the beauty
It's still
standards,
white.
yeah, still white. It'll always be like that, I guess, because it has never changed. But I'm not trying to, you know, like, down white people or like people with lighter skin tones. Everyone is pretty in their own way.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that it doesn't matter the color of your skin. You can still be like beautiful. And let's also relate this back to the topic, is how do we see these like beauty standards playing a role in romance?
I think it's all about the male gaze.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Male gaze.
Can that be the title of this episode? The male gaze.
The male gaze.
Because, I mean, Aubrey, I want to hear what you think, because obviously, I
think it just depends on the man that is looking, because everybody has different types, you know, and some people like different things.
But I think beauty standards affect the thing that men want. You know, their choice. Because, you know, when the beauty standard was mostly white women, what was the main what men usually looked for?
Sure, but at the same time, you have to take into consideration how different people are. And there's always been people that were like, I don't care what the beauty standard is. This is my type, or I really prefer women like this. And then they would gravitate towards those kind of women, even if the beauty standard wasn't that. So I think it's important not to categorize people and be like, whenever the beauty standard was this, everyone went to this. Because there's obviously so many people that don't care about the beauty standard.
Yeah.
Same in today's world. Like, they don't care about the beauty standard, no matter what it is.
But how many people do care? That's too much. How many people do let what the beauty standard is affect who it is that they let themselves date? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. And even though in today's society, like, they'll always have a preference, especially men, they'll always have a preference. And, like, I guess it's in their subconscious to be like, oh, wait, she's really pretty.
But you know what? Let's not just talk about men. Let's talk about girls, too.
Yeah.
What do we want? What do we want today? What is the thing? It's I mean, it's even a big thing on social media. 6'2" basketball dreadhead. Is that not what we see all the time now on TikTok, on Snapchat, on all our social media? Mm-hmm. So I think girls now, especially because of that standard, gravitate towards,
I guess, whatever is trending these days.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. And girls, like, will date, like, the ugliest man and be so gorgeous, but men, like, if they think, like, a girl is even, like, the slightest bit ugly, like, I feel like they won't even talk to her.
I agree with that so much. Like, I have so many friends who are, like, drop dead gorgeous, but they're dating these guys that I'm like, literally, you look like you just crawled out of a hole. And then
you negotiated your way onto Earth, buddy.
No, genuinely. And then if he, like, found a girl that was probably on his level, he'd be like, absolutely not. Like, I just can do so much better than her, but really that's not the case. Yeah. And I think it's also so important to remember that a lot of this doesn't just circle around race, like, and gender, but also, like, so many people choose their, like, romantic interests based on personality, and I think that is what should be the number one determining factor, is their personality.
I think that's why girls have, dated ugly guys, because,
the personality,
they're conventionally unattractive in somebody's eyes, but in the person that they're dating, who really is the only person whose, opinions matters at that point, because that's the person that they're dating, not you, and they find that their personality just makes up for everything, even though, no matter how they look.
Right.
And I think those are the relationships that you find last, or when there's heartbreak, those hurt the most.
Exactly. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, the better personality they have, the cuter they get. Like, even if you look at them and the first time, like, you see them, you're like, absolutely not, what is this? But then, like, give it a few months and you're like, okay, wait, like, hold on.
Why is he kind of...
He was like, oh, I did not see that one before. I didn't see that.
Literally.
And I feel like some girls do just want to be loved and feel that the genuine attention that they're getting from that man is real. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't matter about looks. It doesn't matter if they look like a freaking ogre. Like, as long
I feel like that was pointed to someone.
The embodiment of Shrek.
As long as you feel like you're loved by that person, and if it's genuine, honestly pursue it. And, like,
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up this podcast episode. Let us know any comments, questions, or even possible segment ideas you would like to hear. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and thanks for being part of the Mics and Mischief community. See you next time.